Am I audible, everyone? Okay. So we'll wait for 5 minutes for others to join. So everyone, I have already shared one Excel sheet with you on Google Drive. You might have recently received a mail of your respective fees status. So everyone, you have to update your fee status on the uh, Excel sheet that I have shared with you. Okay. So the status is marked with yellow cell. You need to give us the timeline during which you're going to pay the fees because this is very much important. You already crossed the timeline because the last date was 31st December. Okay. We are already about to finish this session because we are in third session right now of even semester. So consider this as an urgent basis and try to process the same as soon as possible. Okay. So the cell which is marked with yellow, you need to fill that status. Okay. So before this third session exam, you have to make sure that you are paying the fees. Otherwise, the strict action will be taken by the authority. Fine. Is that clear, everyone? Is it clear, everyone? Okay, roll number 1. Krishna, are you present? What is your payment of the tuition fees, Krishna? So do it as soon as possible. You have to update your status on the Google Sheet which I have shared, right? Because we are in the third session of the even semester, about to end the semester, and you haven't paid the fees. So whatever the decision will taken by authority, we have to strictly follow that. Okay? Process it on urgent basis, everyone. Is it clear, everyone? Process it on urgent basis. So fine. I think last time we have seen about the memory hierarchy. Okay, which was the last topic that was covered? Everyone, am I audible or not? What is the last topic that we have covered? If you are not going to reply me, I'll assign today's topic as part of self-study. Okay. Roll number 3. There are only a bunch of students who are responding on timely basis. What about others? Are you guys sleeping or just attending for the sake of attending? Don't think that this time it is online exam, so you're going to copy paste everything, whatever comes your way, because you will not be knowing how your external exam will be conducted. Okay. Okay, so we have seen about the average access time, that is a hit ratio multiplied by time to access memory M1 plus 1 minus hit, that is a miss, multiplied by time required to access memory M2 if you are having two level of memory hierarchy, right? Then this is the time to access the memory. What about the time that is a block transfer time? Okay, in case of miss, what we are doing, we are transferring a block of data from memory M2 to memory M1. So block transfer time is represented as TB, or it is called block access time or block transfer time, or block transfer time, right? So block transfer time can be represented as TA2, that is time required to access memory M2, is equal to the block transfer time, that is a TB, plus time required to access memory M1. Okay, so that is what it is. Okay, so as and when we are accessing A2, what is the additional time? पहले हमने A1 को एक्सेस किया, A1 में नहीं मिला, फिर A2 को एक्सेस किया, पर A2 को एक्सेस किया तो एडिशनल कितना टाइम ऐड हुआ? A1 plus A2, right? Or after which we are having a block transfer time TB. So after accessing A2, we are taking some time to access block. Okay, so TA2, that is a time required to access memory M2, can be represented as block transfer time from A2 to A1 plus time required to access A1 plus time required to access A1, right? So now if we are going to substitute this equation in this previous equation, that is a T average, right? Substitute the value, okay? Substitute the value of TA2 in the previous equation. Let us consider this is equation number 1 and this is equation number 2, right? So substitute value of A2 in A1. What will you get? You'll get something like, that is T average is equal to time required to access memory M1 plus 1 minus H, that is hit ratio, multiply by T of B, that is a block transfer time, right? Let us consider this is an equation 3. Okay, so in most of the equation, time required to access A2 is always very, very greater than time required to access A1. We already know, right? Okay, and therefore let us assume that TA2, T of A2 is very much similar to that of T of block transfer time, right? So the ratio, access time ratio, that is R, is calculated as time required to access memory A2 divided by time required to access memory A1, right? And let the access efficiency E is given as time required to access memory M1 divided by the average access time. Okay, so from equation 1, what was the first equation? The first equation is T average is equal to H of T1 plus 1 minus H into T of A2. Okay, so from the equation 1, okay, just substitute the value in terms of R. Okay, so if you are going to substitute the value in terms of R in equation 1, then efficiency E will be represented as 1 divided by R plus 1 minus R into H. 1 minus R multiply by hit ratio H, right? That is what the excess efficiency we are going to represent in terms of ratio, and that is excess time ratio and hit ratio. Okay, so how we are going to do that in equation 1? Okay, ratio is something that R is equal to TA2 upon TA1. So we have to divide this equation by TA2, right? So that will be the representation of the equation in terms of R. Okay, so that is the efficiency in terms of excess time ratio and hit ratio. Now, the second thing is that the memory capacity is limited by cost consideration. Okay, we already know that the memory capacity is considered by cost consideration. Okay, so the faster your memory is, the storage capacity is less, but per bit cost is more. Okay, so therefore we do not want to waste the memory of which is the costliest and speediest memory. Okay, We don't want to waste the memory of M1. M1 is the memory which is costly, storage capacity is less, but it is speed, right? Its speed is more. So the efficiency at which the space is being used at many times can be defined as the ratio of memory space. The ratio of memory space. Okay, so that will be the space utilization. The space utilization can be represented as the space occupied by active or useful user program, that is S of U, that is a space occupied by active or useful user program, divided by total space, that is S, that is space of memory available, that is space of available memory, right? So space utilization is given by the space occupied by active or useful user program divided by space of available memory, right? Since the memory space is more valuable in M1 than in M2, it is useful to restrict the utilization by measuring M1 space utilization. Okay, so as I already said that our main focus is on utilization of M1, that is a primary memory, right? Or it is a cache memory if 3 level of memory is there, but mostly we talk about the primary memory, right? So even though we carefully arrange the data in the memory, but there are some space still wasted in the M1 due to many reasons. Okay, so there are some set of regions will be created. Okay, and these regions will be either inactive or it is occupied by the system software, or these regions are empty, So based on the way the memory is getting wasted, these regions in the memory are termed. Okay, so there are several factors that attributes to the wastage of memory in M1. Okay, so first one is known as empty region. Okay, so as I said that as and when data is referenced by the CPU, it may be present on M1 or it is not present in M1. If it is present in M1, CPU will access it, but if it is not present, we need to transfer that block of data from M2 to M1 and then CPU can access it. But okay, this block of instructions or data that is occupied in M1 at any time is of different length. It is of different sizes, right? For example, in memory M1, we are having some block of data, right? Each of different size. Let us say my first block consists of 25 bytes data. Second block is consist of, let us say, 1 MB, right? The third block in M1 consists of data which is of, let us say, 5 MB. And let us say the last block present in the memory, okay, it is of, let us say, 3 MB. Right, so memory is full. Okay, it is consist of this many block of data, 25 byte, 1 MB, 5 MB and 3 MB. Now let us consider that The block of data which is requested by CPU program is not present in M1. It is present in M2. It is present in M2, right? And the size of that block of data which a CPU wants is, let us say, 4.5 MB. It is 4.5 MB, right? That's what the size of block the CPU is requesting. Okay. As the data is not present in M1, we need to transfer the data from M2 to M1, right? So we need to simply transfer this data from M2 to M1. But where we are going to put this data 4.5 MB, we need to create a space. We need to create a space. ठीक है? तो अगर हम 3 MB वाला ब्लॉक क्लियर करेंगे तो क्या हम 4.5 MB का ब्लॉक एलोकेट कर पाएंगे? If you are going to free up the space in M1 which is of 3 MB, can we allocate or accommodate a block of data which is of 4.5 MB? Okay, fine. So we need to find out this space which is as similar to the requirement of the CPU. So we are going to replace this block which is of 5 MB by a newly requested block which is of 4.5 MB, right? So in place of 4.5 5 MB block, we are keeping 4.5 MB block, right? ये स्पेस कितनी है? 5 MB की स्पेस है. हमने इसमें डेटा कितना स्टोर किया? 4.5 MB का स्टोर किया. ठीक है, तो कितना वॉइड क्रिएट हुआ? कितना एम्प्टी रीजन बच गया? हाउ मच एम्प्टी रीजन वाज क्रिएटेड? 0.5 MB का. ठीक है, the empty region which was created is of 0.5 MB. This is my empty region. This is a waste of memory, right? This is a waste of memory unless and until a new request is not coming which is having a requirement of storing a data of 0.5 MB. वो block खाली रहेगा. Are you getting? Are you getting? जब तक नया ब्लॉक रिक्वेस्ट नहीं आएगा जिसकी रिक्वायरमेंट है 0.5 MB, तब तक ये रीजन खाली रहेगा, right? So this kind of region is called empty regions. Okay, fine. So the block of instruction or data occupying M1 at any time are generally of different length. As the content of M1 are changed, the unoccupied regions or holes of various size tends to appear in M1. Okay, so this is empty region, or you can say it is a hole, right? Or you can say it is unoccupied space created, right? So such holes or empty regions will be created all over in your memory, or these regions will remain empty unless and until it is not getting a request of that particular size. So this is a wastage of memory. Okay, so this unoccupied space between the successive blocks, okay, the unoccupied space between the successive blocks are called fragmentation. It is called fragmentation. It is called fragmentation. Okay, so these are the ways by which M1 is getting wasted. So one of it is fragmentation. Okay, the second type of region which is created is called inactive regions. It's called inactive regions. What do you understand by inactive regions? What is inactive regions, everyone? What do you understand by inactive region? The name itself suggests something. Do you want to elaborate? Anyone? Atul Makwana, roll number 53. Blocks in the memory which are not in use. Since long it is not being referred by the CPU, right? The block of data is present in the memory since long and it is not being referred by the user program or by the central processing unit are called inactive regions. The next kind of regions are called system regions. Okay. Now what do you understand by system regions? What is a system region? Anyone? What do you understand by system region? The region which is occupied by the memory management software. So if you're going to purchase a pen drive of 16 GB, you might not be getting a 16 GB entire space for using, right? Some of the region will be reserved for the memory management software, and by allocating such regions for memory allocation software in turn will waste some of your memory, right? So that is a system region. Okay, is it clear, everyone? Are you guys present or not? Okay, so the central issue is managing M1 and M2 or multi-level of memory, and it is being an attempt to make this multi-level of memory to appear to its user like a single fast memory of high capacity. But in turn, internally there are 2 or 3 level of memory inside the system, right? So the goal can be achieved in a way that is largely transparent to the user by providing memory management system. Okay, so that will automatically perform some set of tasks. For example, the translation of memory address from virtual address to the real or physical address. Okay, the address of your main memory is called real address or physical address, right? That identify the storage location. And the second thing is dynamically allocating the information among different level of memories. Okay, so dynamically allocating information among the different level of memory. Okay, so if I am requesting a block of data which is not present in M1, so operating system will dynamically allocate a most suitable space for that requested region in M1, and it will transfer it from M2 to M1. Okay, so the process of transferring data to and from or between the main memory and backing store, that is a secondary memory, is called swapping. It is called swapping. Okay, so the data will be swapped in to the memory M1 from M2 temporarily. Okay, because CPU can only access the data if it is being loaded in the primary memory, right? So this entire process of swapping in to the primary memory and swapping out from primary to secondary memory is called swapping. Okay, it is called swapping. So the main task is the memory allocation. Okay, so how you are going to allocate a memory, okay, for the requested data or block of data? Is there any idea? How the memory can be managed? Okay, so Maydeep says that dividing a memory into pages. Okay, so if you're going to think about the simplest method for memory allocation is to divide the memory into several fixed size partitions. Okay, where each partition may contain exactly one process. Each partition may exactly contains one process, right? So the degree of multiprogramming is bounded by the number of partitions. The degree of multiprogramming will be bounded by the number of partitions in the memory. Okay, but this method is not efficient because some blocks are not of the size which is we have allocated for the fixed partition. So in turn, the memory will get wasted, right? So we want a method which is called dynamically allocating a memory. Okay, so based on the requirement of the process, the block of memory will be assigned to that particular process. So if we talk about the initial phase, initially all memory is available for user process and is considered as one large block, right? So the set of available memory is referred as whole, and some set of memory is occupied by the block. So that will be occupied regions. Okay. So am I audible, everyone? according to the memory requirement of the process, the search for enough large unoccupied space for the given process will be started. If the enough space is found in the memory, that particular process will be allocated to the particular empty block as it is being needed by the process, and keeping rest available to satisfy the future request. As I said that if, for example, 5 MB space is not being used, but 4.5 MB space is used, so rest 0.5 MB will be considered as an empty block or an empty hole for the future use. So operating system will keep track of the list of available holes and list of occupied spaces in the memory. Okay, so it maintains a table which contains the starting address of the unoccupied space, and from the starting address, how many block of data or how many available block is available to the incoming process. Empty block is available for the incoming process. Okay, so as the process enters the system, they are put into the input queue. Okay, and the operating system will take into the account of the memory requirements of each and every process, right? And it will also check the amount of available memory space. When a process terminates, it releases its memory. When process terminates, it releases the memory. Okay, so that released memory will again be occupied by some process which is waiting in the input queue. Okay, so operating system will pick the process based on some algorithms, and it will fill the empty block with the another process which it has picked from the input queue. So operating system is doing two things. It will first check the memory requirement of the process which is waiting in the input queue, right? And it will check the available set of memory, available set of blocks, okay, present in the memory. And based on the memory requirement of each and every process, the memory block is allocated to that process. As process terminates, the memory will be released. It will get free. Okay. So at any time, the system have list of available block sizes and the input queue. In general, a set of holes of various sizes scattered throughout the memory at any given time. Okay, as I said that based on the memory requirement, the process is being allocated to the memory. Okay, it may be possible that it is creating holes as it is not able to accommodate the entire flip block because its memory requirement is less. Okay, so the set of free holes is scattered all over the memory. Throughout the memory, operating system has to keep track of each and every free block. That is, the starting address of the free block is this, and from this address, let us say 5 MB free block is available, right? So when the process arrives, it needs memory. The system has to search the set for the holes that is large enough for the given process. If the hole is too large, it will be split into two. One part is allocated and the rest of the part will be again returned to the set of free holes. Okay, and this entire procedure is called dynamic storage allocation. It is called dynamic storage allocation. Is it clear, everyone? Okay, so there is a reminder for all of you. You have to pay the fee as soon as possible. You have to give your status by today 5:30 when you are going to start your process for paying the fees to the university. Okay, so do it as soon as possible. Okay, is it clear, everyone? What is a dynamic storage allocation? Okay, so as you are not responding, I'm keeping this dynamic storage allocation problem as part of your self-study. Okay, so there are some strategies available to select a free hall from the set of available halls. That will be for the self-study. Dynamic problem allocation is for self-study. Okay. So from next lecture, will directly start with the memory management schemes that are segmentation and paging is said by the Somriti. Okay. Is it clear, everyone? Yes. Rule number 1. If you are present, write yes. Otherwise, okay, I'll mark it as absent. Okay, Krishna, you are present. Krisha, why were you not responding till now? I'm asking for the multiple times. Is it clear to you? Is it clear to you? You people are not responding. Okay. So now we want an attendance. There are some set of roll numbers which are active. Okay. As it is being noticed in the chat box. So today, I'm going to grant attendance to those students only. Okay. So no need to take attendance of entire class because you people are not present. Okay, everyone, you may leave the meeting.